this is Trumpetman with 40 Card College. Today on our draft video, we're doing some DMU. It's a traditional draft, so best of 3, which changes things a little bit, but not a ton. Just kind of, I think, different drafters in different draft environments, so maybe the picks might be a little different, but a lot of the gameplay and stuff is the same, other than just we can actually take sideboard cards too. So if I'm looking at this pack, we kind of missed on a rare, 3/3 Menace in 2 colors. Not really where I want to start. Joint Exploration is good in both the blue-green sort of ramp decks and blue spells decks, but it's not really a first pick. Balduvian Berserker is fine, but not exciting. Strength of Coalition is decent, but green-white is not particularly good. So I think here it's like Citizen's Arrest, Miria's Outrider, or one of the lands. I think the best option is Citizen's Arrest. I think the white aggro decks are good, and this at least gives a lane, so it gives a direction. Miria's Outrider will also give a direction, but I'm not in love with this pick, and obviously it's a pretty weak first pick. So, and I think you could go other directions. I think if you took a land or Miria's Outrider there, I think it's also totally fine. If we look here, I think Weatherlight Completed is just a pretty bad card. You can make it work, but it's kind of hard to set up and get the trigger and make it turn into the 5/5. It can happen, but oftentimes you can just end up killing it anyways. So it's it has pretty bad stats. It's not a pretty bad statistics in terms of 17 land data. I think the best card is Electrostatic Infantry, so I'm just going to take that. Doesn't really go with Citizen's Arrest, but you want to just take the most powerful card. Taking something like Captain's Call second pick here would be, I think, a huge mistake. And then if we didn't take the Electrostatic Infantry, I just don't think anything else is as powerful as it. So I think it's a pretty clear pick here, and we just kind of want to see where it goes from there. Note that I have Citizen's Arrest and Infantry, but it doesn't really mean we're red-white. The best cards in this pack are red-white, I would say. Baird and Cleaving Skyrider are both probably the most powerful cards, so we might end up taking one of those anyways. Baird does combo with the Infantry pretty well. If you can just get a few spells, then these 2 cards together gets the counter on the Infantry once you play your first spell, and then you just get a 1/1 every turn. So it's not that this can't go in red-white, but you kind of need the right reasons. Baird is kind of the right reason. Skyrider is not that good without the red mana anyway, so if we're going to take a white-red card, I believe it should be Baird just because of the synergies with the Infantry. If you didn't want to take a red card, I could see maybe taking a Talus Lookout. But I think the fact that there's 2 red-white cards in the pack, and we are already red-white, and there's some of the best cards in the pack, means I think it's okay to just go down this road and see what happens. If we look here, the best cards I would say in the pack are the lands, the Eerie Soul Tender, the Magnagoth Sentry, and Citizen's Arrest and Twinferno. Gin of the Fountain's sometimes okay in the blue control decks. We're not really there, and we don't want to go that direction yet. I think just taking a Citizen's Arrest is worth it. Twinferno I don't love in red-white because your creatures tend to be kind of small, and so doubling up the spells is not that exciting. And if you have the enchantment-based removal, it doesn't even combo with the Twinferno, so I'd rather just take the Citizen's Arrest. It would be nice if we could get back the Coalition Warbrute. I think actually that card is pretty good in red-white decks as just a top-end threat. I think you can often make it a 6/4 trample, and they just have to, your opponent has to answer it. Alright, so we're looking like we're in a pretty good spot because we keep seeing the best cards keep being in the lane that we're in. So sometimes drafts break nicely that way, so I'm happy with where we're at. I think the best cards in the pack here are the Benelish Sleeper, the Destroy Evil, and the lands. And so because of that, I think we're just going to take, I believe we should take Destroy Evil. Benelish Sleeper is really only good if you have access to the black mana, and we don't right now. We could move into white-black instead, and it's a good 2-drop, but we already actually have good 2-drops, which is nice because we have some of the uncommons. Destroy Evil helps our Electrostatic Infantry and is more removal to push through the final damage if our opponents land a big threat. So I think it's definitely the pick there. This rare doesn't do anything. It's for Planeswalkers. So if we're looking at our options, we do want to be more base white, which is what this pack is anyways. So really I think it's between the two creatures. If we're able to go wide, the Phalanx is great, and red-white is about going wide, even though our cards aren't really about going wide right now, except for Baird. I still think we should take the Phalanx, because in our final deck, it's probably going to be pretty good. Like, we have a lot of removal right now, but it doesn't mean that we're just going to have a ton of removal and no creatures as we draft. I do like Benelish Faithbonder, and it goes well with Baird, but I think we can probably get that a little bit later. Alright, next, I think, I don't want to take Jai's Fire NATO because we have a lot of removal, and it's pretty bad. This is the type of card where, like, if you don't have a lot of removal, and you need a way to close, like, you need an answer, it's serviceable, but actually we're pretty good on that front, so we just want threats. I'm going to take the Benelish Sleeper, and if we happen to splash some black mana, it could be good, but I don't hate just playing it as a 3-1, especially if we're able to back it up. If our opponent plays like a 3-3, then we are able to just like keep attacking with it, and it can be pretty good there. Of these, I think Flowstone Kabu is a much better threat than Charismatic Vanguard is. I don't want to take Join Forces right now because we have a lot of spells that aren't creatures and they're removal. So I don't want to take a pump spell if I don't have mostly creatures. So the more removal you have, the less pump spells you want, and just the more threats you want to push through with those removal spells. So I'm going to take the Kabu here. Okay, so we wield the Berserker, which is a really good sign. We could take the Molten Tributary if we think we're going to splash like a Fires of Victory or something down the road. We do have 8 cards already. I think I'm going to take the Berserker because we do have the Baird, so that makes it a little better than normal even. And it's an okay card, and it's good if you can pressure your opponent and then they just have to answer the Berserker and you just go face, or you get a 2-for-1. It's not great on turn 3, but it can be good in other spots. I think I'm not going to take the Fire NATO here. I might take the Artillery Blast if I want another removal spell for like a Pseudo Mirror. It's decent against other aggressive decks. I won't play it main. The other option is taking Bone Splinters if I think I need to kill big things, but we're actually already set in that path, like if we wanted to splash the Bone Splinters. But I'm going to take the Blast for the sideboard. Wow! Okay. If ever there was a sign that we're in the right deck. Okay, well, I almost took Cleaving Skyraider the first time around over Baird. So, glad I didn't. And yeah, that is a insane pickup. So we wield the Twinferno and the Warbrute. I was mentioning I'd be happy if the Warbrute wheeled. I still think I'd take it over the Twinferno. I think we just want creatures at this point and ways to trigger our Baird. I'm going to take the Warhost Frenzy over the Fire NATO. It can be okay, especially if you can kick it. And like we're off to the races. Hammerhand does come with Baird, but I think it's just too bad. Well, so our options here is taking Captain's Call or Furious Bellows, I would say. But we also have just a million playables, so I don't even know if that even really helps us. I want to take a 2-drop. But that's not an option, obviously. I think if I wasn't making a video right now, I might just take Drag to the bottom for the gems, if I'm being honest. Because I don't think these cards are really going to make our deck, but that's not as interesting for you to see. So I think I'm going to take the Captain's Call. It works better with the Frenzy and going white, and I think I can get the Combat Trick if I want it later on. Also, like, the more Captain's Call type things I have, the better, like, going wide strategy is, making, like, my Caldon Strike team pickups even better. Lots of good stuff. Really not for us overall, but Caldon Strike team is good. Like, the packs aren't really deep, so we're not really going to wheel anything. We're seeing a ton of, Sultai cards, and we're red-white. It is what it is. But I think pack 1 was just so great in the sense that we know what our lane is that I'm not really that worried. So we'll pick this up. We're going a little bit wider now. Warhorse Frenzy gets a little better each pick. Okay, so here we go. So here's our red-white pack. Astro Barrow of Blades, kind of cool if you can combine it with the Weatherlight, which we saw earlier, because it gives you the Weatherlight crew. It's kind of two mediocre cards that together are quite good. So do I want a 2/3 lifelink? This card's just great. Or do I want the Electrostatic Infantry number 2? I actually don't have that many spells right now, so I might just want to take the Missionary as a 2/3 lifelink. But the the Missionary is the 2/3 lifelink. I think if I take Infantry, though, the Captain's Call gets a lot better, and I can maybe like set up my Baird a little better. Like, that combo is so strong, even though I think Missionary is really like a very good card. I don't have any black mana yet, and I think this just means that if I do get some spells, like I would play more spells to make this work. Now that I have 2 of them, especially. I'm giving Cavalier just a great card. I would like to pick up some more 2-drops down the road. Like, for example, if Furious Bellow wheels, then that's going to be excellent with our 2 Electrostatic Infantries. Yeah, if we just take this, we keep going wide, maybe we get there on the Warhost Frenzy front. We don't really have any goblins. Steel Crusher would be fine. It's a little awkward taking Cavalier when we already have good 3s, but Strike Team's really a 5. This is really a 6. So our curve actually doesn't look like as clumped at 3 as it would look at first glance. I don't hate a Branch Rider. I think actually it's a decent card. There is a Sulphurous Springs, which I'm probably going to take because it lets me free roll the splash on this. It's not quite a free roll because obviously you have to pay life if you don't have red mana naturally. But I do think that adds a little power to our deck. Like, the option to sometimes kick Benno Sleeper is good. And if we end up playing Warhorse Frenzy, obviously you can pump that too. So if we got like this, maybe one more black duel, we can definitely make those cards work. War Brute or Branch Rider could both make the deck, but they're not insane or anything. Not a ton for us here. I think I'm going to take the Vanguard just because I don't have a ton of mass pump at this point. Not a great card, but I really don't think we're in the Shield Wall Sentinel deck. We don't have any walls yet, and going the Wingmantle Chaplain road, even when we saw one, is pretty unlikely. A lot of good blue cards. Okay, here we go. I think the pick is Goblin Picker. It's a good 2-drop that lets us keep looting to find our key cards. This is like the 4th Talus lookout we've passed. So there's a pretty sweet blue deck going around. I actually have been really impressed lately with Benelish Faithbonder. It's a card that's come up a lot for me late in the format, just because it allows you to keep attacking with big threats, and they force them to answer your 1/3 dorky creature in your aggressive deck first. But I do think Goblin Picker is just a better overall card. I'm happy to play 2. Like, it's a good card, comes down early, maybe chips in for some damage, and then it just lets you find your key cards later on and not flood. And you really never want more than 6 lands in red-white, because your curve is always just that low. Okay, the Ballows did wheel. I don't think I want Aeron. I think I would play a Furious Bellow in this deck with Infantry. I also could play a Stall for Time. But I think the Bellow is a little better. Like, we play a few things, we attack, we get our first counter on the Infantry, and we're off to the races. Thrill of the Possibility, also really good with 2 Electrostatic Infantries, so we'll definitely play that. I also would like a Crystal Grotto, but I think Thrill is actively good in our deck right now. Mesa Cavalier, not a card I love in red-white. Ooh, I could maybe play Twinferno at this point. The only reason I say that is really good with Thrill of Possibility, because you play it, copy the Thrill, you only have to discard 1 and you draw 4. Steel Crusher or Bellows number 2. I think it's Steel Crusher. I could also hedge on a beachfront, but there's not really a reason to yet. It's rare that you want to play multiple Bellows, even though it's a decent card. Okay. Ooh, Rada's Firebrand is a nice one. Finally a sweet rare we can take. Yeah. So we're going to take this. I don't really know. Let's see. Is there anything I really want to wheel? Maybe the Captain's Call if I can go wide. There's also the second Warhorse Frenzy if we think that's a road we want to go down. I'm not I'm not as go wide as I thought maybe I might be at the start of Pack 2, because all I have is the Captain's Call and the Keldon Strike team. So really we're just playing like our early threats and trying to back them up with removal and going like we are actually going taller than wider in this red-white deck, which sometimes can happen if you don't have the exact setup of what you're looking for. And that seems to be the case right now. Sprouting Goblin is also a good one in the sense that it's kind of like Goblin Picker but in reverse. Like if you draw it, if you've already drawn a lot of lands, it can be pretty good. Probably going to be my pick here. If I randomly get a free green splash, it's also quite good. I also like Semi-Herbalist quite a lot once you have a lot of Enlist, and we do. So if that does come back, it might make the cut in my deck. We have a good number of 2-drops in this deck, so we're like really low to the ground. It's kind of working out. There's that Fires of Victor that's saying maybe we could splash when I was considering some of the blue-based lands. I'm still probably going to take it. It's a card that's good in your opening hands. Not very good if you don't have blue mana later on, but it's also a card I can sideboard, and is a really good card to have access to out of the sideboard. Nothing else here we're really going to play in our main deck anyways. We're doing really well in playables, so I don't have to worry about that. Torrid Avenant, decent card. I almost always play it in red-white. It's nothing like insane in terms of pumping the whole team, but I think is pretty good. Clockwork Drawbridge I've also been pretty impressed with. This deck I think doesn't need a drawbridge as much because we have a lot of Goblin Pickers. So if you don't have those, to make sure like you don't flood, sometimes having drawbridges is a decent way to use your mana if you happen to draw extra lands. When you have a lot of Goblin Picker type effects, you don't want the drawbridge as much because you're going to be looting away a lot of those lands. Now there's the Chaplain that we were talking about. So that's kind of funny. But this is a stacked pack. If the Chaplain, like, we're not going to take it because it doesn't fit our deck at all. I'm going to take Destroy Evil, but if that weren't here, we could still take a Wooded Ridgeline, which would have enabled our Sprouting Goblin and the Domain on the Firebrand. Destroy Evil is just so good that I'm happy to play 2, and it triggers our Electrostatic Infantry, and it's just great. So, yeah, awesome. Ooh, Love Song of Night and Day, excellent card. Our deck is low to the ground, so sometimes drawing the 2 lets us stay ahead of our opponents. And the counters is a really nice combo with Baird as well. Once you get that counter, then you just start making the 1/1 every turn. So definitely a card that's very good, and people don't tend to pick it too much. Wow, we're doing it. So maybe we are going a little bit more wide. Now that I have the Argivian Cavalier, now we have 2 Argivian Cavaliers, a Captain's Call, a Keldon Strike team, the Baird. So maybe there's actually a decent number of ways to make the 1/1s here. Sunlit Marsh is decent too, but no Argivian Cavalier, that's for sure. Of these, I think I'm going to take a Bone Splinters for the sideboard. I have the Sulphur Springs. Maybe I could wheel another black land. I don't think any of the other cards help us at all. The Frenzy did come back. I don't think I'm going to play 2. But I don't think any of the other cards... Well, actually, you know what? Automatic Librarian is actually pretty good. But I have a lot of good 3s, actually. I think I'm going to take another Frenzy for the board. It's sometimes good if in matchups where the board stalls out. And if that's the case and you really want to draw your wide pump spell, then it can be pretty decent. So this is going to be kind of tricky in terms of... We already have 2 Artillery Blasts. I'm going to take another Warbrute. I don't think I need another removal spell in the Firenado. I think sometimes you'll play 3 Warbrutes. I don't think I'm going to play 3 main. Yeah, so we basically just have every card imaginable. So we're probably not going to play Fires of Victory. It's a bad top deck, and I think our deck is powerful enough that we should minimize bad top decks. So I'm not going to play any of these cards out of the 2 Goblin Pickers main. And I could probably play 16 lands. I only have the 1 Black Source. I think this card's basically only good if you can kick it. And I can use my tokens in other ways, especially if I play the Tory and or the Charismatic Vanguard. So those are other ways to get that. Let's just split by lands and spells here and just sort of see like what we want to play. I'm also going to count I'm going to count that as a creature. So if we look, I'm going to count that as a creature too. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spells. Only 6 of them trigger the Twinferno. So the question is, can we play this electrostatic infantry with actual 6 spells? Maybe not. If I cut the infantries, then I would also cut Thrill and Twinferno. And maybe the Bellows, because we have a lot of removal. So if I did this, how much power am I losing? I actually have other good 2s, so I don't hate cutting the infantries. And they're not going to be... And I think the Fires of Victory is kind of bad when I already have 4 of these catch-all. I still have a lot of good early plays. And good late plays, too. Captain's Call was another spell, so actually it could have been 7 spells. But I do have to make cuts. So I think if I cut the Captain's Call, the Tory's still good with the Cavalier and the Strike Team, but we're not super go wide. We're more like a sort of low to the ground, and then just have like good card quality. I can cut a land too, maybe, because our curve is pretty low. I don't need to cut too many lands because I do have the Pickers and the Sprouting Goblin. Also, question is, Sprouting Goblin, is it better to play 3 Goblin Pickers or 2 Goblin Pickers and a Sprouting Goblin? Probably the split is better because they're better in different situations. I don't hate playing an extra land, though, in this deck with so many ways to loot. I think if I don't curve out, that's kind of bad, so I probably should cut a card. I think 17 lands is better. Right now we're playing 19 creatures. 20 with Love Song, so I should just cut a creature. What's my worst creature? Probably the Berserker. I have a lot of good other 3s. And I want to curve out, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 8 2-drops is pretty nice. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... I still have 8-ish. I don't love playing Goblin Strike Team on turn 3, but I would if I have nothing else going on. So I think it's the Berserker. I think it's the weakest. I also like, for example, I was talking about like Faith Bonder earlier. I like that it combos with the Phalanx and the War Brutes. Answered this one first, and then we just scale up after that and keep attacking. So we have a lot of enlist. So Baird's going to be live without these counters anyways. Combos with Tory too. So like, I think this Baird's just going to be good. We don't need to do that much work for it. Like, this is kind of one of the weakest ways to pump, but it still exists. I think sometimes I am going to go wide, and so this option is going to be valuable. This is also just another giant payoff for going wide. So I don't actually need like all the pump spells with the going wide. Like, I have other ways to get value off of it. Yeah, so I think this looks pretty good. I might be a card or 2 off in terms of my build, but I think we're pretty set. There's a couple cards, like the Steel Crusher is not great, but I think I do still want just like a 2-drop. Maybe I should be playing Fires of Victory over Steel Crusher. What do we think about that? Because I still have 18 creatures is so many that I want to clear the path for them. But I'm going to be dumping my hand and then just looting away excess lands with the Pickers. So if I dump my hand, I really don't like Fires of Victory. Also, having 18 creatures is good if I'm playing Tory Diabnate and Cleaving Skyrider. And this still triggers the Benelish Sleeper, so having access to black mana is still good. Could see playing a Warhorse Frenzy, but it's... I think it's a better sideboard card in my deck, honestly. I think main deck, we're able to just have a streamlined deck, and then we can sideboard in if our opponent is going to board up against us. Drawing this type of card when they like board sweep you or something else is really bad. If like if you're not already really winning, then it kind of doesn't do that much. Or if you're not in a giant board stall. So I think this is our deck, and let's jump on in. Be on the play. The benefit of having Goblin Pickers and stuff like that in my deck is that I get to keep hands like this instead of mulligan. Normally this hand like is just not good enough, but if I have 3 cards that make it so the excess lands aren't so bad, I think I can keep. And if I draw like a 2 or 3 drop by turn 3, I can continue to apply pressure. I am going to keep this hand. It is borderline, but if I can draw one more spell, or sorry, one more creature by turn 3, then our Giving Phalanx comes down on turn 4 potentially. So that would be nice. Obviously I only get one more draw step for that. A lot of the power of my hand depends on that next draw step, which is kind of an awkward spot, but you also, like, it's just kind of how Magic works. So do I trade here? Like, I don't want to trade. But they're red-green. They probably will try to trade. I think getting the 4/4 down is too valuable. I mean, there's a world where I can attack and they don't block, but they're already behind. They know I'm red-white. I want to deal them damage. So I think it's better to pass there, play this, and then attack with both. They do get the option to maybe save their creature if they have a pump spell, so it's kind of awkward. Like if I attack and they pump spell, because I played this pre-combat, then I can't destroy evil their play. But the Destroy Evil is going to be good on something big later on anyways, so I'm fine to just attack. Like if they have Gaia's here, I don't get to blow them out. Okay. At least we got rid of their looter there too. And we get to kill that, so that's very good. We still want to play this land, but I do need to draw a Goblin Picker, so I'm going to probably not play my next land. Unless there's like a really good reason to that I'm not remembering. Ooh. Okay. Alright. I was never, ever going to win if they didn't block there. I figure they're tapped out. I could easily have a combat trick, but we were losing that game anyway, so I think it was worth trying to get the 4 damage in. They called my bluff. I would make that attack again. Alright, so kind of an awkward start. We had an awkward hand, and it didn't pan out. That happens. I think I would keep it again. Because honestly, we were only a little bit away from, you know, continuing to pressure, and they played one of the best figures in the set. So, totally fine. How do we want to board here? So they're like a domain deck. So we want to just keep applying pressure. So we're actually pretty well suited for that. Coalition Warbrute is a card that gains a little bit of utility against like 4/6s and big creatures. So if we can't attack with something, maybe that's worth bringing in. I guess by the same metric, Balduvian Berserker, but I don't think it gets big enough because it has 1 power. So maybe the Warbrute. I could cut a land on the draw. Maybe a plains. Because if I draw red, I can also just loot into white mana. And I don't need the Citizen's Arrest usually on like turn 3. It's fine if I get double white on turn 5. So yeah, I think I'll just board in a Coalition Warbrute. Could also see boarding in Furious Bellows. Oh, I'm not on the draw. I'm going to be on the play because I lost, right? Okay, so actually that's a bad idea. I want my land still. But I could see boarding in Furious Bellows on the play. I think it's a way that we can keep attacking. And maybe board out the Faith Bonder because it's kind of tiny. It's better against the mid-range decks. And really my opponent's more of a control deck. So I think I'm not going to swap out much. I could see War Host Frenzy, but I think boarding in a bunch of that kind of effect rather than just getting on board is worse. And we know they have Rith, so we can maybe play around that this time if we need to. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't board down a land, because we're keeping our 2-lander here. Probably going to play Benevolent Sleeper on 2, although I'm not positive. Maybe it's better just... Yeah. I don't have access to my black mana. I'm just going to play a 3-1 and apply pressure. Because then I could play Kavu into Baird and Pump. And that's going to let me get the token right away. Yeah, they get to trade for that, but that's fine. Well, maybe I don't want to offer the trade. Because we have Tori Avenant, so yeah, I probably shouldn't trade. If I didn't have a way to pump and use this creature, I would just attack. Dang, that one's a good one. I could trade it out, though. Alright, this time I think I should attack with both, because then this will block here. And then we get to pump and play Baird. Otherwise, if I attack with the Kavu, they double block, and that's kind of problematic. So this makes their block easy for them, which is what I want. Do this. Perfect damage. We didn't draw our land, but that's alright. We at least get our engine online. Not interested in blocking that. If they can remove my Baird, it's kind of a problem. So now, what do I want to do? If I attack, they're just going to trade with the Baird. I probably want to attack with the 2-3, but then what else do I want to do? To use my mana effectively. It's probably just right to attack and then play the Tori. And just give up on not getting a Baird trigger this turn. Right now we're just in a race, so I think if we're in a racing situation, I just want to keep applying pressure. I can't really spend mana to not affect the board. Like if I had not drawn a land that turn, I could play Steel Crusher and then pump. And then I get my 1/1. So if I'm using my mana every single turn, like that's the most important thing. We take this. If they just hold up mana to pump, then sure. If they kill this, it's a little annoying. But we're still affecting the board. Ooh, that's good. So now we just destroy evil that and attack with everything, and they're in a really tough spot here. Obviously, if they drop like a Rith or something, it's kind of difficult, but they're taking a ton of damage. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I'm starting to play the Steel Crusher here. Just keep applying pressure. And I think unless they have something really good here, we are looking quite good this game. Nice. Alright. apply pressure, worked out. So on the draw, I think we're going to take out the Furious Bellows, add the War Brute. And then we were going to cut the land and add back in... Oh, add back in anything else. I mean, they do have early creatures. I could see... Artillery Blast is pretty decent against them if they're the ones attacking us and we're just trading damage. But I think Fires of Victory does the same thing a little better. Yeah, it's a bad top deck, but these games aren't going long. So if I'm able to answer something with this, that's quite good. So I think I'm just going to do this. Board in a little removal. So we're able to 2-spell a lot easier. So like, look how many 2-drops we have. So once we get to 4 mana, we're playing like 2/2 or a 4-drop. And we're just using all of our mana every single turn of the game. I think that's going to lead to a victory. Or, I think it's a winning game plan. Let's put it that way. Obviously, you can't say whether or not you're going to win without playing the game, but I like at least that line of thinking. You know I hate them all again. How good is this hand? I mean, Destroy Evil is very good against them. And all we need is a single red mana, and the hand's quite good. Also, I have a lot of redraws. Like, if I draw an Argivian Cavalier by turn 3, like, Argivian Phalanx is almost online. I think it's probably a keep. I think mulliganing when I have 2 Destroy Evils, which is, like, one of my best cards against, you know, their Riff and things like that. I think I'm going to keep. I don't know, the hand's, like, not good, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. Probably worst draw. That's okay. Well, if we just draw only planes, that's kind of on us. So we get 3 draw steps, like I said, to draw a Giving Cavalier, and then we could just play a 4/4, so hopefully that works out. Alright. Ooh, they're more aggro than I thought. I think I take it and then I can block this next turn. At least then I get to loot. Hopefully they go to pump. Yeah, it's not like the same deck. They were playing a domain deck before. So if they're attacking with this, I could block it and then have to pump. But they're going to pump the 3/2 anyways, and I want to save my creature if they do. Alternatively, they just go to damage. I'm gonna loot first. And then obviously if they say okay, there's nothing I can do about it. Alright, that's kind of what I was hoping was going to happen. Now we get the blowout. Alright, the question is, do I play the 3/3 or the 4/4? I think I want to play the 3/3 so I... Oh, I don't even get to loot if I play the 3/3, so I should just play the 4/4. I'm on defense, so I'm not going to attack right now. Because if they kill the 4/4, it's just game over. I am going to attack, though. If they want to trade, that's fine. Alright, let's play Tori Diavnit, and then we have Destroy Evil plus looting up. That's really, we're in a good spot. I'm okay to trade, because the 3/3 makes it so we can attack. Okay. Let's go ahead and loot the planes away. Maybe I should fires this right now. Or I could... Maybe I could loot first, because I'm going to loot anyways. And then I could attack with this and then go from there. So let's loot this. It'll give me more information about what I want to do this turn. Yeah, if I just fires a victory with the 2/2. Or like, if I just destroy evil the 4/6. Then I can attack with a 4/4 if they trade fine. And I guess, actually, I'm not going to fires right now, in case they have a pump spell later on. I'm also a little worried about Riff. Maybe I'm just going to let them go. I think I like having the 2 damage in case I need to block. The downside of not killing right now is they might get to loot. Maybe that's fine. Yeah, so I'm going to block like this and this. And then depending what they do, if they just like go to kill me with the amplifier, then that's going to be alright. I need to make sure I block this one. Because if they have Colossal Growth, I need to be careful. If it's Gaia's Might, I need to just kill it in response. Yeah, and this, like, pretty much ends the game, so that's pretty good. Alright, I don't need to loot this turn, I just want to deal damage. I am going to play this. I could pass, but then if I have a removal spell, I don't have lethal. I think playing around a sweeper here is bad. And even if they do have a sweeper, I have time to rebuild with the Citizens Arrest. Nice. Alright, so we got match 1. Woo! Alrighty, match 2. If it looks like I got a haircut and my shirt's different, you're not crazy. I am recording this on a different day. But that's sometimes how things go. So jumping right in, we're on the play. This one, can't talk myself into keeping that one. Pretty clear, just mulligan, don't have lands. Alright, so we're going to keep this. The question is, do we get rid of a land or a spell? And we're obviously going to keep... I have a 5-drop and a 6-drop, so I could get rid of like the Cavalier if I wanted to, because I could just play the Strike Team on 3, or this on 3. It's not going to be as good as the Cavalier, but if I get rid of a land and I don't draw a land, then I'm just kind of shooting myself in the foot in terms of curving out. And if I do draw lands, then I could hold on to my spells. Alternatively, I could get rid of either the Skyrider or the Strike Team. If I did that, I would get rid of the Skyrider, I think, though I do have a lot of creatures. So the Skyrider pairs with the Cavalier. I could get rid of the Strike Team and keep the Skyrider. That's not horrible, because then I could just keep up pressure. And also, the Firebrand makes the Cavalier better, because it makes things not block the Cavalier. And I can also Strike Team. Or, sorry, not Strike Team. I could strike team into Cavalier for enlist. So maybe I'm just going to get rid of Cleaving Skyrider. They did say hello, so I'll say hello back. Kind of a difficult mulligan right there. Not sure exactly what we're supposed to get rid of, but I think this is good because we just have a ton of early pressure, and the strike team lets us keep up the pressure. So hopefully that ends up being true. Alright, so they can't even block with that, so that's excellent. There is our land. And we get to play this, and now we're like way ahead on board. I could even pump this for 4 mana if I want to, just to keep bigger blockers out of the way. It looks like they're domain based. If they play this and they kill something, I'm definitely not going to block. Ooh, so I could just play the Phalanx this turn, and then I can maybe hold the strike team for another land. So that's pretty great. And if they do have another spell, I can destroy evil infantry. If I attack with the Phalanx, they might want to double block. Or I could strike team, attack all. I don't really love that though. They would get to block. Well, I wouldn't attack all. I would make this a 3/2, but then they get to block here. And then actually, maybe that's okay. If they trade the Soul Tender for my Cavalier, and then the strike team gets in, or trades with the 2/3. If it trades with the 2/3, then I have the board clear. So maybe it's okay if I do this, and then I attack with enlist and these. I don't think I want to attack with 2 1/1s because they get a free block, but I would push 8 damage, putting them to 6, versus only 4 damage, which would put them to 10. But I have the removal spell, so I think having the extra creature in play is good. And they'd have to trade the infantry, or else I get the 3 damage anyways. So I think if they had a board sweep, they would have already just played it that turn. Interesting. So I want to trade with the 3/1 rather than 2/2 enlist. I guess that makes some sense if the 1 versus 2 toughness doesn't matter. So this, yeah, I mean their play actually was better. They take less damage this way. But now I get to kill this, and then they're almost dead at that point. So that's fantastic. And again, I think I'm going to play the 1/3. I don't think that's going to make all the difference in the world whether or not, like, if I don't play it and they... How could they stabilize here if I don't play this? Let's see. I guess it's actually going to be tough. If they play 2 creatures, they still die. So maybe they do need a sweeper here. They're not going to play Keldon Strike Team of their own. If they play Urborg Repossession, they go to 4. And that could let them live. I guess actually that's pretty common, so yeah, I should probably play this. Like I said, they already would have played a sweeper had they had it, so they would need to like top deck a sweeper right now. Which they did top, I believe. I kind of missed the scry actually on the Fire NATO. But if they don't have like drag to the bottom or the red sweeper exactly, then they were dead there. Okay. So another like domain-based sort of black domain-based deck. They played an infantry, which was kind of interesting. I don't know if they're black-red domain, because that's not a very normal thing, but, I mean, that's kind of what it looked like. They also milled some red removal spells with the Eerie Soul Tender. So maybe that's what's going on, or maybe they're like three-ish, four-color-ish stuff. Kind of hard to tell based on that game, because we kind of just asked a lot of questions, and they didn't actually play that many cards. So it makes it kind of hard to sideboard with that. In these, when you have really streamlined decks like this, you generally don't want to sideboard too much, because that actually weakens your game plan. But they're also going to board in things to stop like my creatures. So I could see boarding out like a Yavimaya Steel Crusher, which is kind of medium for like boarding up a War Brute. I think that's decent. They also have a lot of like high impact early spells. I could put in the fires. I did that last time on the draw. It was pretty good. It's not really that great against Eerie Soul Tender, but it's good against electrostatic infantry. That's probably a good change right there. We already have all the Goblin Pickers and Sprouting Goblins for the... in case the game goes long. I don't know that the board's actually going to get clogged because I have so much enlisting, so maybe that's just the one change I'm going to make. Again, I don't want to go overboard with it. I also could see the Benelish Faithbonder not being that good in the matchup, just based on the creature sizing. Like if it's too small to, and then it's not actually punching through. If they happen to have some bigger things. Alright. Not our match for the mulligans. So this time I will get rid of a land, because by the time we get to turn 4, we probably will be able to get that War Boot down, and if not, it means we've drawn a bunch of other spells. Okay, there's that Mana Worker that we saw. I'm going to... if their mana is... They might need the Mana Worker right now, because their mana, they were playing 4 colors. So if they need it, then playing the 3-1 into trade actually is pretty decent. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure what their deck is, because like I said, they played everything in like Grixis right now. But they're more controlling but also aggressive with the electrostatic infantry. It's kind of a weird hodgepodge of cards, so I'm having trouble figuring it out. Okay. Yeah, see, so they do need it for their color fixing. But also... that's fine. We'll just keep playing our cards. Oh, Sacred Peak, so they're straight up 5-color? I believe they had a Haunted Mire last game. Unless I'm misremembering their mana base. Essence, Scatter, Furious Belt. So they look like they're blue-red spells, but like 5-color blue-red spells. Not exactly sure. If I attack and they double block, I can trade with both, so I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I could play at 3-4. I would say this game's going fine, not great at this point. Like, I don't feel massively ahead or whatever. But I also don't feel massively behind. If I attack with the War Brute, I could pump once and it would have 6 power. And that would let me hit through a lot of stuff. They already pitched an Essence Scatter, so I could just play I could play a Phalanx and Faith Bonder first and then just attack for 5. If I do that, the trample for 5, it's going to let me kill whatever they block with anyways. And it lets me get my creatures down. Because they're going to have to get 2 for 1. So I imagine that's fine. That's what I should do here. Although now it kind of looks like maybe they just have Essence Scatter. But I think it's still fine. Okay. In case they didn't. This is what I was saying, like, with Enlist, it just lets you kind of double up on your powerful cards. They gotta answer my Ward Root first, and then they still have to answer my Kavu. If they block with the Mana Worker and the Splatter Goblin, I could assign all the damage to the Mana Worker. Probably gonna hold this land until I draw like a Goblin Picker or that type of card. Yeah, they're just blue-red spells, but then they have all this black mana for whatever reason. I don't know, it's confusing. Maybe I should just make this have 7 power right now. I mean, probably. If they have another spell to kill the Phalanx and pump the Soul Tender, I'm in a little bit of trouble here. Because then I'll just be left with a Faith Bonder. Okay, so they're just going for that. That's fine. I still deal a bunch of damage. Still gonna hold my lands. No reason not to. And they didn't loot, which is interesting. So maybe they have a good 4 mana spell, or... Yeah, there's that Haunted Mire, so I'm not crazy. I did see that last game. That's kind of an interesting... It's... I guess they're Grixis spells splashing white and green. Maybe it's just for Miri's Outrider. Like maybe they're just trying to deal damage. Not exactly sure. I'm just gonna hit for 4. There's no reason to trade the Faith Bonder for the Goblin here. Because I am gonna play a land in case I draw a Love Song of Night and Day. Could be a reason to want to have an extra land. I already have 2 in case I draw my Looter. But kind of just... We kind of just have drawn kind of not very well this game. So it's hard to push through. We kept on top. Maybe I'm supposed to just trade. If the game goes a little longer, it might benefit me. But not even really. I think, well... What's the benefit of not trading? If I draw, like, Keldon's Strike Team, it's really good if I don't trade. If I draw Cleaving Skyrider, it's good that I don't trade. I guess those are enough reasons that I should just not block. Okay, good. So if that's the case, I can attack with the... I could attack with everything, actually, because they're incentivized to... trade with the 3-1. Well, actually, I could just tap the 3-1. If I tap the 3-1 and attack with 2 1/1s, either they chump and go to 4, or they eat 1 and they go to 1. Or I can... I could just attack and force them to block. Like if I attack with this here, if I have a 4/3, or I attack and trade the 3/1 and hit for 2. It's kind of close. I guess I do want to get rid of their Vohar this turn, though. So putting them 1 is maybe bad. I kind of... No, putting them in 1 I think is still good. I don't really need to play my land still. The problem with... I didn't have enough pressure to be able to attack. Like, I basically give them too much life if I don't make that play. Now they're kind of on the back foot and they can't attack me as much, which is going to buy me way more time. Alright, so which do we citizens arrest here? I imagine I should. Probably just the Vohar, is my guess. Because that's digging them to more action every single turn. They didn't use it, so again, their card's great. But I don't really have an attack this turn. So I guess let's just wait. I'm still not playing my land in case they like Phyrexian Espionage or do some shenanigans. The tension again in my deck is whether or not I want to play lands for Goblin Picker versus Love Song of Night and Day. So if I draw another land, I probably will. Ooh. Okay. Well, if they can give everything trample, maybe I'm in trouble. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, I can't really block. The good news is if they try to kill, like, if they try to go on this warhorse now, I can at least destroy Evil It. But this Garna is causing me problems. They do get to draw a ton of cards this turn. Pretty bad for me. Ooh, they didn't draw a spell, but they probably have a creature of some sort. Yeah, so I need to draw out of this right now. Yeah, that doesn't do it. But I could live another turn. So what I need to do is play my land in case I draw Love Song of Night and Day into Cleaving Skyrider next turn. That might be the out. If they attack with everything, then I could then hit them with their own creatures. That's probably my game plan right now. Because I need to chump. So hopefully I draw Cleaving Skyrider this very next turn, and putting them to 1 was all worth it. We'll see. Okay, that's pretty good, but if they play their cards right here, I think I still get wrecked. Okay, so if they had played the Warhorse pre-combat, I think they could have killed me with the Warhorse triggers with Garna, potentially. So, glad that didn't happen, and glad we drew the literal card we needed. Alrighty. Playing for that trophy. Let's see how it goes. Pretty solid hand. Almost always just play Firebrand on turn 2, unless I'm planning to trade for some reason. Oh, they chose to draw. Interesting. So they must be like a blue-black control deck or some sort of more controlling build. That's a good one. I think we get rid of a Picker and a Benelish Sleeper. I think the Goblin Picker is going to be useful to get rid of excess lands later on, more than the 3-1's going to be useful. If I had the black mana, that would be different, but we don't. Although Goblin Picker is... it's only going to be useful once I draw my 6th land. I still think it's probably more useful than Benelish Sleeper, though, because we're just going to play Charismatic Vanguard this next turn. And the 3/2 body is really good on the board. So then the Goblin Picker, like, it doesn't... it can still enlist with the Cavalier as well. Although so can the Benelish Sleeper. So actually, maybe I should just get rid of both Goblin Pickers. Since I already have 2 mana sinks. So lands are actually pretty good right now. Kind of an interesting spot there. Ooh, should I just Citizens Arrest their Loam Speaker? If they have this main deck, then they're probably... like, are they just playing this as a Mind Rot? Probably not, so then maybe they are missing colors. In which case, the Citizens Arrest on their creature is really good. Not to mention I have Firebrand for their next creature. And can even pump it, potentially. So yeah, I think we gotta just get them off their colors and keep our pressure up. That might enable something. It's unfortunate. Okay, so they're probably Sultai control. What costs green by itself? Oh, they probably have Guy's Might. I was like, what card is in their hand? Because they paused for a second. It was kind of weird. Now hopefully draw either a black source or our 5th land, or both, or just keep the pressure up, because they really stopped our plan from there. However, maybe we're still okay. We think they have a Guy's Might in hand, so if they just keep taking the damage, then we're probably going to get the job done with these 3 creatures. Especially because I have Menace. So that one, they can protect it with the Guy's Might, I think, if that's indeed the card they have. So I think we should just attack with this one. Well, not like we can attack with these anyways, and then play our Phalanx. Okay. I have Menace. Playing the 4/4s there is good too, because I can't even drag to the bottom. So it's not even like I'm overextending. Alright, so we have lethal with the Flowstone combo. So we just attack with everything. We'll pump for good measure. You gotta have that -1 life total. Okay, so some sort of like black-green deck. I think they were missing blue because they played Tribute to Urborg. Usually not a card you play in black-green by itself. This could be a matchup for Warhorse Frenzy if they like clog up the board and don't have a ton of removal. They did play quite a bit of removal between the Cutdown and the Tribute to Urborg. So I'm not sure that I want that at this point. But if I find like those were their only removal spells and they just have a bunch of bodies, then maybe this is a card we bring in for game 3. Artillery Blast is kind of good against their mana creature, but not great against other things. Probably this Fire's Victory should just be main instead of the Steel Crusher, because I can make that change every... Actually, you know what? I think Steel Crusher is better than Faith Bonder against them. Because this is not really blocking that much in the matchup, because green's going to go over the top. I'd rather have the extra power from the Steel Crusher. Although, maybe I'd rather have neither on board in the Warbrute like we did before. We do go down a creature, but we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creatures on 2 mana. Alternatively, I could cut the Vanguard to make sure we have the Steel Crusher. Like, just to have the slightly better curve. I think they're going to go on the play because we were very aggressive. Though I'm not sure about that. I do kind of want the 7th creature, though. Is it crazy to... I think it's not crazy to necessarily cut the 3/2. Although maybe it is. Maybe I'll just cut Sprouting Goblin. I think Goblin Picker is a little better. So then I still only have 6 creatures, but at least I have a better attacker with one of them. I didn't want to cut both my Enlisters on 2 mana. This is basically my main consideration there. We want to just curve out, remove a couple threats, and cross the finish line here. So let's see. Well, we drew both Goblin Pickers. Okay, so I think we're still in the play. I didn't think that would be the case. I guess they're playing Aggressive Sabotage, so they just always want to draw. I find that surprising, though, since we're red-white aggro. I guess if you got a plan, you got a plan. Oh, they're playing a million cards, so that's... Maybe it's just not the best construction or whatever. I'd rather play this than the Baird, because I'm not going to get the trigger off the Baird right away. And so, if they play a 2-2, I'd rather attack with the Goblin Picker. But with this turn, I think I'm going to play Baird in case I draw a big creature or a way to pump. If I discard, I'm probably not going to discard either because I want red, red, and white, white. But I'm gonna play my plains because for sure I need double white. However, I might want to play my mountain still next turn. I imagine I'm going to. I'm probably not going to loot it away yet. I might loot away the Goblin Picker if I don't need another one. Only because the hitting my land drops here is like pretty relevant if I can pump my team. We'll see. Also, if I draw plains, I could double spell and just like crash in for a ton. Alright, that was kind of my plan right now. So the Baird gains a lot less utility at this point. Basically, I have two different threats, though. I think I'm still going to just discard my Goblin Picker. They're attacking? That's kind of crazy, I think. Alright. I think I should just get my damage in while the damage is good and just pass. I'm probably going to be able to destroy evil whatever they play next, and then I can start looting again. Well, maybe I want to play... I do need my 5th land for 2 different cards in my deck. So actually I should play my 5th land and then pass. Like, there's an argument to loot this turn, but my 2/2 is going to be bricked by the Bog Badger soon anyways. So I think attacking for 2 while we can is more valuable. Okie doke. So that one, I don't mind Citizens arresting the Warhorse, even though it's a destroy evil target. Lets me keep attacking. But it's just going to grow out of control later on. And I have Destroy Evil for big things. I think I'm going to hold both the mountains. I mean, they are kind of getting me with these Bog Badger attacks because my Goblin Picker is not getting to sit back and loot. I mean, maybe I was not supposed to attack for 2 that turn. But if I draw another land next turn, I'll probably just loot and see if I can hit something better. To use my mana. Right now we're not really using our mana. Oh, I can hold that back and then block. So that's good. Alright, well we didn't need to loot away the lands anyways. How about that? There's also an argument if they attack with the Bog Badger this turn that I just double block because we've seen pump spells from them. unfortunately, if they have one of their removal spells is really bad for me. So I kind of need to just like assess the situation. If they attack with both, I can block the Hydromancer with my Goblin Picker. I believe that's better because I have ways to enlist. So I think the Baird is still good. Alright, so I should just double block the Bog Badger. I give them the option, but I think both my creatures are good, and then I can trade with the 3-2 if I need to next turn. Because right now we don't have a ton of action. I mean, they're probably going to trade for the Goblin Picker, honestly. But then, between our two draw steps here, I feel like we're in the position where the Baird could be good, and that ends up being true. So they're going to hit for 3, I can block. Or they can hit for 6 and I just go down to... I think I just play this and then take the damage. Tory plus Baird is going to let me get a 1-1, which is going to let us chump, which is actually way better than blocking would be. They just attacked with a 1-3. So they probably drew Gaia's Might then. So I probably just don't block. Because the Baird and both of my cards are too good. They can only +2/+2 right now. I probably should hold up Destroy Evil rather than playing Rada's Firebrand this turn. Like play Cavalier plus Destroy Evil. Alternatively, I could play Rada's Firebrand, but I think I like having the extra 1/1 to chump with. And this also trades. Maybe just playing the 3-1's better. I'm already going to have 2 extra creatures to block with this turn. And I don't really need to Destroy Evil. Unless for some reason... Like, Gaia's Might, it doesn't really do that much with those creatures. They need to have something else. Yeah, I think having the extra creature on the board is just better. Obviously, we need to block this time. I'm just gonna... Yeah, I'm just gonna block with the 2-2. Force the Gaia's Might or whatever, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. If that's indeed their last card. Alright. Attack with it all, and we've got it. Okay, so we got the trophy. That was our adventure into that draft. I think quite a few interesting games, but I think the draft itself was pretty interesting. So wrapping up DMU, it's been a pretty good set. Maybe not like the best set ever, but pretty good, better than most. And so I've been enjoying it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.